Hi there, and welcome to Career Stories on LinkedIn Live. So today I'm joined by Nikki Pilkington. So welcome, Nikki.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No worries at all. So today, this is my 53rd episode, but actually my first one of 2025. So it's really great to be back. Nikki and I met in the GDI, which is a membership group hosted by Joe Watson. And right from the start, Nikki's knowledge and ability to impart that knowledge has always really impressed me around kind of SEO and copywriting and just general advice on business, actually. So that's why I've asked her to come on and chat. So anyone that's watching, please do comment to let us know that you're here, whether where you're joining from. Feel free to ask any questions, share your experience, etc. And if you're watching on replay, do the same, and we will check back later on. So just briefly, if you've never seen one of these before, the basis for my lives is really, I've always just been interested in what people do, why they do it. I like learning about different roles and career paths. And the aim is to inspire people to think about what they could do. And normally my guests share some tips. So with that in mind, let's go straight over, Nikki. So can you give me a brief intro to you and what it is you're doing right now work-wise?
Yeah, sure. So I am an SEO consultant. So I work with small businesses in general to help them get better rankings on Google. So as part of that, a few months ago launched an SEO course that allows people to do that themselves. But I also consult and do the actual work for clients as well.
Excellent. And we're definitely going to talk a bit more about that later on. But for now, let's go back to early careers. So when you were at school or college, did you have a job? And if you did that help you in any way, do you think?
At school, I was waitress. I think we were all waitresses in those days, in a pizza restaurant. And I had these great ambitions that I was going to be either a journalist because I loved writing, or a vet because I loved animals.
Okay.
And then I realized really quickly that to become a vet, you had to go to university and study for like another 6 years till you're like 24, 25 or something. And I hated school. So I was good at school, but I hated it. I was very swotty, but I didn't like the structure and I didn't like other people being in control of me. I was a typically stroppy, emo teenager. And so I binned off the vet's idea and decided I was going to be a journalist. But I wanted to be a proper Fleet Street journalist, like tracking down celebrities and all of that. And I actually ended up leaving school and working in McDonald's. So that didn't quite pan out. So I went to work at McDonald's, and I worked at McDonald's for a year or so when I left school at 16. And that was the beginning of my completely realizing I didn't like other people to be in charge of me.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. And I think you do learn loads actually. So I didn't work in a hospitality type industry, but I did work in Woolworths. So serving people, particularly at Christmas when they're very stressed, it gets you to learn a lot about people. So I think that's always really, really useful. Did you have to deal with?
Yeah, people say, you'll only ever be good enough to work in McDonald's, or you're just going to be flipping burgers for the rest of your life and things. And they forget that, working in McDonald's or Woolworths or being a waitress or anything like that teaches you so many things. So you learn how to deal with the public. You learn how to bite your tongue a lot of the time.
Yes, definitely.
You learn how to deal with situations like yourself without having to go to ask anyone else for help, and how to just like run with whatever's happening at the time. And it's not just about doing a minimum wage job for for 8 hours a day and it being a negative thing. So I loved my time working at McDonald's. I thought it was great, and it gave me a very good appreciation of what public facing, like service facing businesses have to put up with.
Yeah, definitely. I've just seen a comment from Matt. So Matt's also in GDI saying legends. So thanks, Matt. Thanks for joining. That's cool. Okay, so you said that you stayed in McDonald's for about a year. So what did you do next after that? And that you realised that you didn't like being not in charge.
I didn't like not being in charge, but I was only probably 17, and I didn't know the word freelancing. Freelancing back in the day wasn't really it was a thing that people did. It
Yeah.
wasn't a thing that people really talked about, because freelancing was a bit of a dirty word. It
Yeah.
was kind of like, oh, you just work in your back bedroom and you sit and eat pizza all day,
Yeah.
which interestingly is what I do now. I work from my back bedroom and I eat flat food that sits on my desk. So they weren't far wrong. But no, I went to work as a secretary for an interior design company. So an interior
Okay.
design company, very small business, husband and wife. They did interior design for offices and
Right.
facilities management and things like that. So that was my first foray into people running their own businesses. And I started working as a kind of secretary to greet the generally men who were coming in to talk about the services they offered, and make the cups of tea and do all the girly admin things that we all
Yeah.
had to do back in those
Yeah.
days. And for some reason, I ended up giving them some marketing ideas, and I don't know where it came from, because we didn't do marketing at school. I didn't know much about marketing. It didn't occur to me that the adverts on the TV were marketing and things like that, but I knew that they could reach a different audience if they did different things in this company. So
Yeah.
I got them to write to local businesses. I got them to attend local in-person networking events, and eventually I got them to get onto the internet. And that is where I learned how to build websites and how other companies, and it was very early on, let's not forget, though, this was
Yeah.
90, by the time we started doing this, it was probably 92-ish. There weren't many people on the internet, and it was a dial-up modem. You had to pay for every minute that you
Mm.
accessed the internet. I was restricted on what I was allowed to do. Web pages pretty much were some words and a picture eventually, probably about
Yeah.
93, I think. And so that's where I learned that, one, people could own their own businesses because my boss did. So
Yeah.
it had never occurred to me that someone started McDonald's and someone owned Woolworths and someone
Mm.
started Marks and Spencer and things like that, or that any of those people that were, the local accounting business and thing. And it didn't occur to me in my teenage brain that someone started those businesses, and if they could do that, then maybe I could do that. But when I started working with John at the interior design company, I thought, oh, he's just a bloke like my dad. He's not
Yeah.
he's not got loads of money behind him. He's not um been to university and got degrees and is the top of what he could be in his game. He's just a man who started a business that people wanted.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked that. I thought, yeah, I bet I could do that, but I didn't have any ideas about what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
or even what the freelancing landscape was like, because I
Yeah.
didn't know
But
anybody
it
that
just
was doing that
put,
kind of thing.
yeah, it just put that idea in your head, I guess, that that's a possibility at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then as I learned more about marketing as well, and it was very traditional marketing. It was going to exhibitions and writing articles for the local newspaper
Yeah.
and getting featured in magazines and things like that. As I learned more about that, I thought, do you know what? I could probably do this for a
Yeah.
living.
Yeah. And this is a bit of a tangent now, actually, but it's just made me think. And I was having a chat with someone the other day who's really senior in a bank, and talking about the whole being back in the office thing. And actually how early in your career it's really important to be in the office, because you learn so much, like you're saying, from the guy, because you're watching him. When you're sat at home on a computer, yes, you can still work, but it's quite transactional, isn't it? But actually when you're there with people, you're learning all the time.
Yeah, it's just those conversations that you have.
Yeah.
That talks to me about, we'd have conversation about how he started up the business working from his dining room.
Yeah.
uh, and his first few contracts that he got, he had to hire an office to have a meeting with these people, because he didn't have an office. He was working from his house,
Yeah.
uh, and all of those things. And I thought, and now he's a respected businessman in our area. He's
Yeah.
got these nice officers. He's got all these people coming in wanting to listen to him. And
Yes.
that was the first time that I thought, actually, I could probably do this.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Got a few more people joining. So Angie, so Angie's my neighbour down in Cornwall. So thanks for joining, Angie. And then we've got Jeff. So Jeff's from America. So thank you, Jeff. Jeff was one of my guests quite early on, actually. And then Varsha, who was also my guest last year. So she's based in India. So it's cool to have people joining. Thanks, everyone.
Wow, we're international.
International, I know, very excited. So you've already covered this, but you didn't go to university. So is that mainly because you didn't like that whole structure, or you just thought, yeah, stop this, I'm off?
I think the catalyst for this, which is awful, is I met a boy. I was 16. I was in love, obviously. I was going to spend the rest of my life with him, of course.
Yeah.
And he moved out of his parents and had a house, and I wanted to live in that house with him. And to do that, I had to have a job.
Right.
And I didn't like school. I didn't want to do A levels. I didn't at the time know what I wanted to do. So going to work in McDonald's to earn money it was a logical process for me. This is my next step. This is what I do. Now, when I look back, I think I would have loved to have had the university life. I had, throughout the years, I've had friends who have talked about, the year they spent living in digs with other university students. The times they spent living on campus or whatever. And I think, I would have loved to have had that experience, that whole going to university, or maybe taking a gap year and all of those things. But at 16, you don't necessarily think about that. And at 16, what I thought was, I want to be able to earn my own money. And that's what I did. And I'm kind of happy that I did that, because there were no training courses in SEO. I mean, I'm presuming there were training courses in marketing, but I wouldn't have known at the time, because I didn't know about marketing when I was at school. So I wouldn't have known. And so I wouldn't have chosen that. I would have probably chosen something like English literature or English language or something like that, that may have led on to marketing, and marketing may have led on to SEO. But what I do now didn't exist when I left school. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't force myself down another route that could have been something completely different, because I'm very happy with where I am now. The way journalism is at the moment, if I'd have ended up going and doing English and ended up in journalism, I'm not sure I would be as happy as I am now. So
no, that's a really good point. I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's good to look back and think, well, what would have happened if I'd have done this? But regrets are not necessarily that helpful, are they? Because you're really successful in what you're doing, like you say, and it's a great example to people that don't want to go to university of what you can achieve.
And I think as well, I think it's difficult when you're young. Now there's a lot of expectation that you will go to university. I didn't really feel that expectation when I was at school. It wasn't that you have to get good grades because you're going to get into university. There was always this thing, you need to get good results in your exams or you won't get a good job. None of my family went to university, so I didn't feel that that had to be my path. It could have been my path. There was no reason for it not to be my path. But I didn't feel that I had to do that. And I think that just finding my own way was a good thing to do at that time.
And that's good. So what made you move on from the interior design company?
They made me redundant. They decided to trim down a little bit. And I think eventually they moved back to running the business from home. It was in Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes offices cost an absolute fortune, or did in those days. I'm sure they still do now. And they decided that because I automated a lot of the marketing, that they didn't really need me anymore. So I AI'd myself out of a job before AI existed. But whilst I've been doing this marketing for them and learning about marketing and meeting other people, I'd also been doing some little bits on the side with their knowledge for other companies. So I'd been designing leaflets and writing articles. I did a lot of ghost writing, where I would write the article for a local business publication, for example, and then the business would put their name to it. And so I was doing marketing for other companies. And they made me redundant,
Right.
and they gave me a nice little payoff for making me redundant. And I
Yeah.
thought, do you know what? I could do this marketing lark on my own. How difficult can it be?
Yeah.
So I walked into my bank and I said, I need a £5,000 loan. I'm going to be I'm going to do marketing for companies. I need a computer because I didn't own a computer at home. The
Yeah.
only computer I had was the one that was in the office where I worked, and the one that my dad had at his house. I spent a lot of time at my dad's house,
Yeah.
work with my mum and dad, just going, oh, I just need to borrow your computer for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
So I thought, I need to get my own. So I walked into the bank, said, I need a £5,000 loan. Here's my business plan. I'm going to be awesome. Because I was 19, and we all have that bravado at 19 and no fear
Yeah.
of what could happen. At that time, I was a single parent. I was in a council house. I had expenses and things that I had to be able to pay, and I worked out if they gave me £5,000, I could I could buy a computer, I could pay for an internet connection, and I could keep myself going for 3 months without getting any clients. And if it all went tits up after 3 months, then I'd have to get a job.
Yeah.
Um, and so, and it wouldn't happen now, I don't think. The bank went, yeah, here, have £5,000.
Amazing.
I'd given them a business plan that basically told them I was going to be a millionaire by the time I was 21 or something. I didn't
Yeah.
know what a business plan was. I'm 52 now. I'm still not entirely sure what to put in a business plan.
Yeah.
So I gave them this business plan that said, if I get this many clients, I'll have this much money and I'm just going to be awesome. And I'll give them their due. They looked at it and went, yeah, you might be. Here's £5,000. And so that's what I did. And I put leaflets out at local businesses. I wrote actual in real life, put a stamp on letters to local businesses.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time stuffing envelopes to send leaflets and letters and things like that. I sent faxes. My dad had a fax machine, and I thought that was awesome. So I sent faxes to businesses as well.
Excellent.
And I got clients, and people came to me, and I went networking. I met new people. I did a lot of in real life networking. In Milton Keynes, you can network morning, noon, and night every single day of the week. And I pretty much did for the first few months.
Yeah.
And I just did what we would call just general marketing. And it was only because towards the end of my time with the interior design company, they'd asked me to design them a website, that I then thought I could do websites for other people.
Yeah.
It's really easy. We were using Microsoft Publisher and Microsoft Front Page, and like basically desktop graphic programs to design websites, and it was really easy. I learned a bit of HTML. I learned how to make things do what I wanted them to do, but it wasn't very complicated in those days.
Yeah.
The problem was I was spectacularly bad at web design, like dreadful. Like everybody was bad at web design. Nobody was good in those days. There wasn't a lot you could do. You might have a little flashing logo, little slidey thing at the bottom, but they all look awful.
Yeah,
But
there's a
I
bit of
was
ticker
really
tape,
bad.
isn't there, sometimes? You get
The
like this
ticker
ticker
tape
tape
on the
scroll
bottom,
across.
yeah, latest special offer.
Yeah.
I was really bad at designing websites. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like it. I liked the coding bit of it, but I didn't like the graphics bit. I'm not very good with graphics. I'm still not. And the people that were designing websites in my area at the time were all graphic designers, and they were so much better than me. And it was clear that they were better. So I moved back to what I knew about, which was marketing. And I thought, right, you've got a website. Now, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
And everybody would look at me and go, well, what do you mean? What are we going to do with it? And I think, how you have a marketing asset. Like if you had a brochure printed, you wouldn't just put it in a drawer and ignore it. You'd use it because you've paid for it.
Yeah.
You've just paid astronomical fees, because they were in those days, for a one-page website, and you're not doing anything with it. Why aren't you putting it on your business card, having it on a screen at an exhibition? Why aren't you messaging all your, writing to all your customers to tell them that you've got this website and they can get in touch with you via it? Why aren't you putting more information on it? Why is it just one page? And so I became an SEO person before SEO existed, really. So I was a digital marketing person. And because I only focused on the marketing of websites, I managed to develop relationships with all of the web designers in the area, because web designers are awesome and they create amazing things, even back in those days. But once they've finished a project, that's it. They're on to the next one. They've moved. They don't care anymore.
Yeah. So, and you're working out how practically you're going to use this thing that you've now got.
Yeah, to promote a business.
Yeah. So you mentioned networking. I would say networking is one of the things that a lot of, particularly my student clients, will be like, oh no, I don't want to do that. So how hard was it for you at that point to start networking when you were like 19 and setting up? And have you got any tips for people on how to do that?
I remember the first networking event I ever went to. It was a Chamber of Commerce networking event, and I'd been invited to go to it, and that was the first networking event I went to as myself, as promoting myself. I'd been to the odd Chamber of Commerce thing before, with the partners in the company, in the interior design company, but really I was just there to stand around and look pretty and giggle. You know, I wasn't there to make any business conversation or anything like that. It was just come along, you know, just have a glass of wine and look nice, and so we can say you're part of our business. And which was fine. That's what they wanted. That's what I did. The first time I walked into a networking event as myself, I was absolutely terrified. I knew two things. One, don't drink wine, because you haven't eaten, because you're terrified and you're just going to make an ass of yourself. And two, you have to ask other people what they do before you tell them what you do. That's all I had in my head, is that is what I should do. And I went to, it was at a local restaurant. It was a Chamber of Commerce thing at the local restaurant, and I went, and I remember going to the bar and the barman saying, what do you want to drink? And my mind went completely blank, because I knew I couldn't drink wine, but I hadn't thought beyond that. And I just went, I'll have a sparkling soda water, please. I realised really quickly I don't like sparkling soda water. I'd never had it before. I think I'd heard someone else order it. What 19-year-old drinks sparkling soda water in 92 or 4 or whatever? And then I waited for other people to come and talk to me, to be honest, which is what they did, because they were all networking people. That's what they did. And after that, I found it really easy. I went to different types of networking events. So the ones where you sit down and you have to stand up and say your 1-minute speech about what you do. I went to the ones where you just walk into a room and have to mingle with people. I went to ones where you have to refer people, and ones where they like it if you refer people. I went to lots of different networking events, and I loved it. Absolutely loved meeting new people, making new contacts. But it is terrifying. And I think the best advice is go with someone else. I think
that's a good point.
Go with someone that can introduce you to people. And often that will be the person who's running the meeting. They want you to go to their meetings. So you say to them, I will come to your meeting, but I need you to introduce me to people so that I can talk to people. And everybody knows about networking nerves. Everybody knows about it. People, even the people that have been doing it 20 years, remember how nervous they were when they started doing it. Totally. I eventually moved on to running a lot of networking meetings in Milton Keynes. And the first thing I would do when someone new came in is find out what they do, find out the types of people they like to work with, and find someone in the room to introduce them to. And that's all it takes, is just to break the ice.
And I think sometimes even things like, say, in the Chamber of Commerce, that sounds really scary. Like, what is that? That sounds really official and really important. But actually, it's just normal people.
It's just a business organization. And it's just, I joined the Chamber of Commerce because I thought that's what you had to do as a business. That's what the interior design company had done. It got me into a directory. There was a printed directory at the time, so it got me in there, so people who wanted web services could get in touch with me. And they ran these networking events, which meant that I could go and meet different people. And it served me very well at the time. But I think the Chamber of Commerce, the Federation of Small Businesses, anything like that, that can help you to find your way into other places is a good thing when you start out as a business.
Definitely. A couple more comments. So Paul's saying sorry he's late. That's fine. Thanks for joining anyway. And Jeff is saying, fax, old joke. I can't send you a fax because of where I'm located. Where are you? 20th century. It's very good. Very good, Jeff. Okay, so I noticed on your LinkedIn account you've got something about GPT Genies. So what is that? How did you get into that? Why did you get into that?
GPT Genies is it's a vanity project, really.
Okay.
Years and years ago, I started up. GPT means get paid to. So
Okay.
get paid to is something that a lot of people do. They all do surveys and play games and review websites and things like that to get a little bit of money. It's usually seen as pocket money, really.
Yeah.
And I had done a few bits, and I at one point looked at setting up my own website that actually provided opportunities for people to review websites, but I didn't go ahead with it. But I set up a Facebook group of people that used various websites to earn little bits of money here and there when they had time. And the Facebook group very quickly got 10,000 members.
Wow.
Which I'd never done that before, because I'd only ever set up business Facebook groups, and business Facebook groups, you're lucky if you get 500 members. But this was like people who wanted to make money, and it flew. So we set up a website, and I started writing for that website and writing about the processes that are involved in earning money from these different sites. And it's still going. I've kind of handed it over to other people to run now. They run the Facebook group for me, and they run the site. But some of the people that are doing these little bits of pocket money surveys and things are earning like £1,500 a month. So it's something I'm quite proud of. It's not something I have time to do myself anymore. But I'm proud of the fact that it helps other people to do it. And I think that's
cool.
That's a thing in a lot of things that I do, is I like to help other people be able to do things. That was just a different thing, in that it was more like consumer people than business people.
So. No, that's good. I'm conscious I've got loads more questions, and we're planned to finish in 3 minutes. So have you got a few minutes extra after 12:30 to carry on? Or
sure,
do you need to, you sure? Yeah. Cool. Okay. So digital course. So what made you decide to write a digital course, and how has that gone?
I did a lot of training, like a lot of going into companies and training them on how to do their SEO. I did training, like I had group sessions where lots of people would turn up, and we'd do a session on how to do SEO, but it was never really formalized. And obviously I had to write training material for it. And I've been writing this course. Well, I originally wrote this course about 8 years ago. It's developed since then. 5 years ago, I said, right, so pretty much when the pandemic happened, which changed things for a lot of us, I lost some clients during the pandemic because marketing was one of the first things to go. And I understood that, and that was fine, but I had time on my hands. So I started putting the course together properly. And for 5 years, I'd been saying, I'm launching a course. And it was on my, what are you going to do in 2020? What are you going to do in 21, 22, 20? Every year, I'm going to launch my course this year. And I hadn't, and I saw lots of people. I saw lots of people on one-to-one sessions where I say, oh, I'm going to launch a course about this, and they'd be going, oh my God, you should. I would so pay for that. You really should. And I think, yeah, I should. I'd get off a one-to-one and go, yeah, I should. I really should. Cool. And then I'd go and do something else. And eventually I sat down. I joined a goal setting session where I put my goals into writing, and I said, right, I am going to do this course this year. So I had to do something about it. I did some work with another SEO copywriter, Alice Rowan, who I love, on structuring it. And it was amazing to work with her, because she knew exactly what I wanted to do, but she also held me in check of where things needed to be and what needed to refer to what, and where I hadn't got my styles quite the same in different places. And then I basically one day just said, right, it's ready. We're just going to launch it. and I called my daughter Lee, who used to work for me when she was younger but now has a real job. I called her and said, I'm going to launch this course, can you work for me for the next week? We'll get it launched in a week, it'll be fine. I'm going to start selling it now. And she went, are you sure we're going to do it in a week? And I said, yeah. And we launched it. Well, we put the course into a platform. I started pre-selling it. People started buying it, which meant that I had to do it. And
Yeah.
then we realized it wasn't only going to take a week. It was going to take us a lot of time to get this course to where we wanted it. There were videos to do. There were audio to do. There were downloads to produce. There were loads of bits that we hadn't even thought about when I put it all into one thing. And Lee took some holiday from her work, and we worked 24 hours a day pretty much when I wasn't working on client work. I'm getting the course ready. And it's gone really well. I'm really happy with it. People seem to like it, which is nice.
Yeah, it is excellent.
It launched properly at the full price in October last year. So we did a pre-launch price, like a beta testing price. And there are now 140 people, I think, on the course.
Amazing.
Which is fantastic. And I'm so happy that still get people mentioning it. Like, someone messaged me just this morning and said, oh, I was on an online networking thing and people were talking about your course. I had a one-to-one session with someone the other day, and she said, oh yeah, I've recommended your course to loads of people. And it's just a really simple way to say, right, this is how I do SEO. This is it. Best practice, straightforward, logical. There's no jargon in it. It's just, this is what you need to do. And if people follow the process, it works. You know, the people that started in the earlier days have seen results. I know Matt Jamawa on LinkedIn is one of my favorite results.
Oh, people.
He followed the whole process. He asked me a few questions. He jumped on some group calls that we had. He clarified a few things that he wasn't sure about. He did some specific pages for toy products, and he landed a contract with Jurassic World. Sign an NDA with like the Hollywood movie studio and things like that. Just this morning, he's told me he's landed a contract with a really prestigious company that I'm not allowed to name, but that came from another landing page that he'd done, very much focused on that. And he sings my praises a lot. And he's not the only success. He's the easy one to tell.
The big one,
contract with a Hollywood studio, for God's sake.
That is pretty cool.
But yeah, so the course is going well. People are starting to see results. People are emailing me all the time telling me they're getting clients from it. It's nice to see that people are getting good rankings and visits to their website. But what I want to hear is, we made a sale because of it. We got an inquiry because of it. We got a booking, because those are the stats that matter.
Definitely, really tangible stuff, isn't it?
Okay.
Right, so you seem to be really visible right now. So literally every day I'm seeing you popping up all over the place. So how are you managing to get everything done, all that marketing, as well as working with your clients and, you know, your course and all of that?
I've always been quite visible. I always posted on LinkedIn every day. That was one of my big things, was I posted on LinkedIn every day. And then I would take whatever I posted on LinkedIn, distill it down and post it on Twitter, as was. Never X, always Twitter. And then Twitter became the bin fire that it is. But then we had Threads and Blue Sky and things like that. So I wrote about this on LinkedIn recently. It does seem like I'm everywhere all of the time, but I have a lot of help to do that. I repurpose a lot of my content. So I repurpose it in two ways. So one way is, if I write a blog post, I distill that down into a LinkedIn post. I distill that down into 3 or 4 social media posts. Those go to my VA, Erin Buck, who I love, who is helping me become very organized. And she schedules those on all of the social media platforms using a tool called Metrical. And that will basically, so I will write the blog post, distill it down into the LinkedIn post, write the social media post. That goes to her. It's up to her when she schedules that. She does videos with, I think we've done one with you. I know we've done one with you, with people who have done the course, which she splits into sections, and those go out on social media. So And the other part of repurposing is I go back and look at my old posts and I repost them. So I may have posted something 6 months ago that 50 people commented on, but I have 7,500 followers on LinkedIn, I think.
Yeah.
So 50 people commented on it, maybe 200 saw it,
Yeah.
300
Yeah.
So people should never be afraid of reposting content that
Yeah.
they've already
Definitely.
used before, because there's
Yeah.
always someone who hasn't seen it. And if
Yeah.
someone has seen it before, no one's going, oh, you've posted that before, because no one cares.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just scroll by, or they don't comment or whatever, but other people will see it that didn't see it.
Yeah.
So I am very visible, and it's very much helped by the fact that I have a really strong brand
Yeah.
that Thomas Pauly designed for me. He took everything that I said, he took the colors of my hair
Yeah.
and turned it into a brand. And the hair helps
Yeah.
because I'm instantly recognizable in my pictures. I changed my profile picture on LinkedIn to one that didn't quite show the colors in my hair. No one knew who I was.
Yeah.
People actually messaged me saying, I don't recognize your picture when I'm scrolling through my newsfeed. Whereas when my hair shows, people do recognize
You
it.
recognize that? Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
strong brand helps, but having someone to schedule my content helps a lot as well.
Yeah.
And anybody can do that. You don't have to hire a VA to do that. Scheduling content on a Sunday afternoon is a fab thing to do, because you know that your content's set for the week. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So I do seem like I'm everywhere all the time, but honestly, at the moment, I'm generally not. So
No,
just
that's
my
good.
content is.
That's good, but you are seeing, which is excellent, exactly what you want. So this next question, people can talk for hours about this, but kind of in summary, I guess. So would you say your values are important to you in your work? So like your personal values, how you work, who you work with, etc.
I think it's a difficult one, because my value, I love working with small businesses. I love seeing small businesses succeed. I love giving them the tools to be able to do that themselves if they want to. And of course, sometimes they'll pay me, and I love that too. But I want people to understand SEO. I want them to know how it can work for them, and I want them to be able to make that work properly for their website. What's important to me is that when I work with a client, they are willing to listen to me, and that they understand that the reason I'm quite blunt about things, and I'm very, someone said the other day, in your face, is because I know what works. If I didn't know what works, I wouldn't be doing this. And there are far too many SEO consultants out there that will try and blind you with, oh, it's a dark art, and oh, you would never understand, and oh, we've got proprietary things that we do I can't tell you about. And I just think, no, if I'm paying you money, you're going to tell me what you're doing for me. So I think, I'm a big believer in making things easy for people to understand. And that means in my blog posts, in my social media, in my videos, in my course, in the work that I do, I want people to understand everything all the way along, and to give them the opportunity to do that. Who I work with is always, the core of my business is always going to be small business to business service.
Excellent.
So that wasn't a very short answer, was it?
That's fine. That's absolutely fine.
I'm very good at being like,
no, you are. That's fine. So one last question. I've seen there's a couple more comments, so I'll ask you the last question, which is, have you got any advice for students who are about to leave school, college or university and are looking for their first role?
I do. I think find someone who's doing what you do, what you want to do, and ask them for advice. I am always happy to give people advice of who they can go to, where they can learn, what they can do, even though I'm not in a position to give them a job, because I don't hire anyone anymore. I think that's a good thing to do. But also, I think a good piece of advice is to not be too stuck in your ways of what you definitely want to do. If you're not sure and someone's making you be sure, because that's what happens a lot, I think, is that we're told, I did it myself. I asked my 3-year-old granddaughter the other day what she wanted to be when she was older. How does she know what she wants to be?
Yeah.
When I was 3, SEO computer, I didn't know what a computer was.
Yeah.
And we do it when they're 10 and is it 11 now? They do
Yeah.
SATs, I think.
Yeah.
And then we make them take their GCSEs, and we make them choose at 13 or 14 what they want to be doing when they're 50, pretty much. And I think that's ridiculous. And I think that for the advice for the students, but also for the parents, is to accept that in 5 years there will be jobs around that do not exist right now. 5 years ago, no one was using AI in marketing, SEO, writing, or anything like that. AI existed, but it wasn't the talking point that we have now. Now people are making careers in AI. And I couldn't have predicted that 20 years ago. 30 years ago, I couldn't have predicted that search engine optimization, or SEO, would be a term. It wasn't a term. It didn't exist. Google didn't exist. And it is, so you have to kind of be prepared for the fact that, yes, in a way, you're putting yourself in a little bucket and saying, I'm studying this, so therefore I've got to do that. But you've also got to be open to the fact that other things might happen. And I think it's not necessarily the students that need to be open to that. I think it's the parents that need to be open to that.
I think you're right. And accept that you're going to learn something whatever you do. So even if it's a job you don't want to do, sometimes you learn loads from that about what you don't want to do, how you don't want to be managed, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sometimes we have to do a job. I had to get a job to earn money. I went and worked in McDonald's. I didn't always enjoy it. I learned loads from it.
Exactly.
I ended up being a secretary. It wasn't what I planned with my life, but if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have started my own business. So the opportunities are there, and I think the best time to take those opportunities is when you're young and you have no fear. Because at 19 you have no fear. At 25 you're possibly getting a little bit of fear, and once you get into your 30s, especially if you've got family and responsibilities, there's a lot of fear, and it only gets worse as you get older. Because you might be in a job you don't like, but earning some decent money, and working for yourself is terrifying. So I think a really good time to do it is when you're leaving school or college or uni, when you have the best ideas, you have no fear, and everybody, all students or non-students, all people of that age, have that bravado to be able to walk out there and do it.
Excellent, thank you. So just one thing, going back to networking, I won't ask you any more questions on that, but Paul's saying here about finding specific networking groups. I think that's a really good point. So he's saying the museum he works at, they host groups, so one focused on local businesses and one women only. So that's a good point, to find the one that's going to work for you. And Matt's gone, so thank you for joining, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
So thank you so much, Nikki. It's been really, really useful, and I think we probably could have both carried on talking all day. So but what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, to connect to, or even better, to work with you?
The easiest way to get in touch with me is to find me on LinkedIn and send me a message. If you Google my name, it's Nikki with 2 Ks. There is another Nikki with 1 K who's an artist. She doesn't like it when she gets my emails that ask her to do SEO, and I don't like it when I get hers that ask me to paint pictures. So neither of us are good at the other thing. So the Nikki with 2 K with the bright hair and the big boots, not the Nikki with 1 K who lives in Wales and is an awesome artist.
Excellent, brilliant, thank you. And obviously people will be able to see you because you're tagged in this, so people just click on that and they'll come to your page. So thanks again, Nikki. It's been really great. And I will be back in 2 weeks with Sophie Elkins, who works, well, I won't read all of that out, but she is works in the pharmaceutical industry. And I met her randomly in Paris after she'd just cycled there from London. So it's going to be great to chat to her. So thank you again, Nikki. And I will see you in 2 weeks. See you.
Okay.